In this video, I'm going to share with you how to practice emotional hygiene so that you can live in a healthy emotional state, maintain healthy relationships, and have overall happiness for yourself in your experience. Also, I'm going to talk about why practicing emotional hygiene might be difficult. Hi, I'm Nikki from HereToWakeUp.com, and I help people stay accountable and connected to Divine Spirit on their awakening journey. I've been spiritually awakened for 15 years now, self-realized for 10, and I'm here to help and to be of service to kind-hearted souls that are ready to progress. So if that's you, welcome to my channel, The Healthy Wealthy Recluse. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. Make yourself at home. And I also want to say thank you so much to my new subscribers. I really appreciate you. On this channel, I make videos about spiritual wealth, healing, and relationships. So if you find that you like it here, let me know in the comments and consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Even dislikes help the channel. So thank you so much for watching all of this video. And now back to the topic of this video, how to practice emotional hygiene and why it can be difficult sometimes. But first I want to explain what emotional hygiene is for those of you who may be unaware of the term. Basically, it's just an expression that, if I'm not mistaken, was conceived by the Dalai Lama. And if that's not correct, please let me know down below in the comments, because I am interested to know who came up with it for sure. But whether he actually invented the phrase or not, it is a subject that he has spoken about, and according to DalaiLama.com, it's something meant to help humanity find inner peace without adding religion into it, which is understandable because not every person is religious. I'm still going to talk from a spiritual perspective because that's part of what my channel is about, and also because to me, spirituality and religion are two different things. Also, in my experience, the spiritual path has really been the only thing that has worked to bring me true inner peace in a lasting way. So practicing emotional hygiene is amazing, and I think it's a mandatory step along the path to finding inner peace. And the way I define it is by combining the definition of both words. So from emotion, which is simply energy in motion, of course, which I'm pretty sure we all learned that ages ago. And of course, hygiene is anything you do to stay clean. So to me, emotional hygiene is anything you do to keep your emotional energy flowing, unobstructed, and clean. So anything to keep yourself in a healthy emotional state. And since the mind generates the emotions, then anything you do to keep your mind clean and healthy is a huge part of emotional hygiene as well. Okay, so now that we know what it is, how do we practice it? So I'm just going to talk about the way that I used to practice it before I reached the stage of consistent peace. So basically, I would just be aware and mindful of how I was feeling throughout the day, and then I would process any emotions that would come up in that moment, and then just continue on about my business. And also I would make sure that my energy field was clean and clear before sleeping, because negative emotion can affect the dream state. And basically that's it. That's pretty much all I would do. And I know it doesn't seem like much, but it's actually a lot of work and can be very overwhelming on a spiritual journey. There are phases where there's so much emotional junk that comes up that has to be addressed and dealt with. You get to a point where you feel like that's all you spend your time doing, just clearing stuff. And ideally, you want to express the emotion in real time, so to speak, and not avoid it, repress it, tuck it away and just forget about it. because doing this can lead to energetic imbalances, physical illnesses, weight issues, even emotional disorders, because of course you are going to start, behaving differently or erratically because, you're walking around with energetic blockages and imbalances in your field, and you're avoiding things and not dealing with them or addressing them. Yet these things are still, running your experience. So it seems pretty simple, but experientially it can sometimes be difficult. There are other challenges as well. For example, some people may be so emotionally numb that they're not even able to monitor how they feel because they don't know how they feel. They don't know what they feel. Another thing is not being able to fully process the emotion in that moment that it comes up because of your environment. It might be inappropriate. So obviously in a situation like this, you would want to excuse yourself and go deal with things privately. Not every emotion or every impulse you have needs to be expressed. It does need to be processed, but it doesn't need to be expressed as in acted upon or acted out. For obvious reasons, for your own safety and the safety of others, but they still have to be processed. And so this requires self-control and breathing through the emotions. And of course, you could also do some sort of physical activity that doesn't harm yourself or anyone else. Maybe you could go to one of those wrecking rooms, where you can just smash stuff or whatever if you're feeling, anger or rage and things of that nature. Another thing that can be difficult in this process is the self-judgment. I would judge myself for having negative emotion, especially when I would be annoyed or triggered by something that was just so mundane or ridiculous, like traffic or having to wait in a long line or something like that, just something ridiculous. So there's the negative emotion from being irritated by these things, and then there's the negative emotion on top of that for judging myself for feeling negative emotion about it, which just makes everything worse. And on the deepest level, it's not even the traffic or the line that was triggering my anger. It's something else entirely, but that's for another video. So there's the judgment for being triggered, and then there's also judgment for emotions coming up that you thought you already dealt with and handled, and that's also something that I had to deal with as well. But that can be handled by just knowing that the healing process and the clearing process is not linear, and there are going to be some things that keep coming back around, and they're just going to keep coming up until they don't come up anymore. And I had to realize that my job was to just let it keep coming up until it didn't come up anymore. And there was just a lot of judgment there. And so some people may experience that and have judgment about, having to quote unquote repeat things that they already handled, or so they thought. And so that's another thing that might make practicing emotional hygiene difficult. And the last thing that I think might make practicing emotional hygiene a little bit difficult is practicing forgiveness, because once you process the emotion, you've let it move through you, now you really have to let it go. You don't think about it, rehash it, you don't toy around with it in your mind or anything like that. It's just not necessary. You've got to let it go. And this is where I start to talk about my spiritual approach, because I knew that there was no way I was going to be able to do that on my own. I just knew I wasn't going to be able to stop judging myself. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to forgive on my own. I knew I was going to need help. And so that's why I have a spiritual approach and a spiritual perspective on the whole thing. Us divine beings, true children of God, and that's who I'm speaking to directly in this video with this audio, whatever. We have a whole bunch of spiritual and non-physical assistance at our disposal that we have access to that we sometimes just forget about. And so this is why I would pray and I would ask for help with not judging, having understanding, and practicing forgiveness. Having a spiritual practice is actually what works best for me in my experience, because it keeps me tuned into my true self, divine spirit. That is our true identity, which is happiness, joy, kindness, playfulness. That's actually our makeup. The emotions that we feel in this experience are not our true nature and not our true state of being. You transcend the emotional construct altogether, because remember, emotion is energy in motion, and energy is not spirit. Energy is still part of the construct. It's a tool, helpful and important, but it's still just a tool. This is the reason why we can be happy for no reason. Usually in the world, you need a reason to have a happy emotion or a positive emotion. But on the spiritual path, you can be happy for no reason, because that's just who you are. Hopefully that makes sense. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Remember to love yourself, because that's the real wealth. And stay tuned for the next video.